Good morning, dear friends. Alicia, author of the books Don't Be a Stranger and Don't Be a Stranger to Grief, and that there is actually a third book coming out in the series to be announced soon. I'm at the beach, and I thought it's been a while since I recorded a video for you at the beach, so I sure hope you can hear me. As with any of my videos, awkward things could happen. Pelicans could land on my head, people in bathing suits might run behind me. We're just gonna go with it, right? Because I think the one thing that I really stand for is just showing up real, showing up quirky, showing up awkward, because that's who I am. So enjoy whatever comes will be. I've made friends throughout the resort here in Cozumel, so if people walk by and happen to just start talking to me, not realizing I'm recording, we're just gonna go with it. And so today I thought I would do a reading out of my first book, Don't Be a Stranger. This is on creating connections and memorable first impressions in everyday life. Specifically, I'm going to read to you from chapter 9, Show Curiosity. You know, it's interesting because with each book I write, with every topic I study, I'm certainly much more aware and holding myself accountable in a lot of these things. And I think one of my gifts is I am a great question asker. I mean, that's what I do for a career, right? I ask questions, I get to know people. And I'm always amazed at how seldom people ask questions back. Like, I will meet people, I will talk to them for hours, we will walk away, I will have a mini life story, and they will know nothing about me. They might know I'm in skincare because it's how I introduce myself. I don't share about the other parts of my identity because I'm very intentional with like how I show up in different parts of my life in terms of what I want to welcome and around the conversation, and that's really to preserve my energy and because I've gotten to know people. So it's a way of protecting myself as well, to be able to be in my best light, my playful spirit. Um, so anyway, chapter 9, Show Curiosity. I'm amazed at how often I meet people who seem to have little to no awareness of how they communicate with others. They'll talk and talk until they're done talking, and then they wait to be asked the next question so they can talk some more. It doesn't seem to occur to them to volley back a question and engage others in talking as well. The impression they leave others with is that they have an agenda or quota to meet, and others are simply there to serve them. Some, if challenged, will say they don't want to be intrusive, or so they don't ask questions and instead wait for others to volunteer information. I don't recommend this. Part of what connects us is the feeling that someone has taken an interest in us. And how better to know that someone's interested in us than by them asking us questions. Prepare at least a few thoughtful questions to participate in fluid conversation. I'm also amazed at how often others are unaware of their patterns of complaining about events. They tend not to realize how off-putting their verbal and nonverbal behaviors can be, and instead of showing curiosity into their own patterns and why they were not approached, they make assumptions and criticize others as weak or poor at communicating or engaging. I like to think I do this differently. I frequently ask myself how my presentation may be helping or hurting my connection with others. Incidentally, when you're in a big room, a crowded room, people are watching you from the other side of the room. Your nonverbals are communication. And people forget that sometimes, that whether I smile or greet or seem friendly with that person that comes across the room to me who, perhaps it's much older, or perhaps, I don't know, for whatever reason, people might assume why would she be talking to that person. People can see that from across the room. I'm going to be nice to everyone. And I'm going to be warm, and I'm going to be friendly, and I'm going to be approachable, and I'm going to be disarming, because I know how hard it is to walk up to a stranger and spark up a conversation, and I commend those who try. Now, there's something to say for reading the room and recognizing boundaries and not overstaying your welcome, but I really try to carry myself with giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. One of the most important points to stress in this section is that you listen and actively engage. Some people are passive recipients of life. They wait for opportunities to come to them. I challenge you to create life and memories everywhere you go. At a minimum, please, for the love of whoever your higher power is, if someone initiates a conversation with you, put your cell phone aside. Make eye contact with them. Smile. Act as if they matter to you for even just a moment in time. Sometimes people ignore opportunities for passing conversations because they're busy or distracted. Sometimes they assume the conversation will go nowhere. When you assume a conversation won't be fruitful, you are likely making a snap judgment based on superficial assessment. Please resist the urge to judge another person's appearance, dress, status, work, pastime, etc. Doing so is simply unkind and rude. Everyone has value, and if you decide someone's not worth your time because they don't immediately look like someone you would like to engage with, you're going to attract that same judgmental negative energy into your life. And frankly, you're not being nice. I am sad to have to stress this point, and yet I see it all the time. Some of my favorite interactions have been with people who may have initially been overlooked, and had I been comparing them to some hypothetical model in my mind of who I wanted to meet. Consider the possibility that the universe makes no mistakes. How different would life be if you treated every chance encounter as one that is here to teach you or another person perhaps a life lesson? Sometimes it's not just about us. Maybe you are an instrument in the universe's grand plan. So, with that, I wish you a wonderful day. There are certainly more strategies in the book as far as how to go about some of these things, and this chapter will go on to offer some examples of questions you might ask. I'll tell you some of my favorite questions are, what brought you here? What are some of your passions? If I meet people at the airport, what are some excursions you're looking forward to doing when you get there? What's been your favorite vacation, and what made it so exciting? What made it memorable? Asking people about things that are emotionally charged is likely to get you to deeper conversation. Figuring out what are their passions, what drives them, beyond just the typical kind of like, what do you do, where do you live questions. Like those kind of end with a couple answers. And typically there's very little back and forth energy being created in the conversation or the connection. So it's really showing genuine interest into what makes someone who they are. All right, my friends, have a wonderful day.